Buenos dias. Welcome back to the Cafe Con Luis podcast, episode number 7. And today we've got my guest, James, who is a good friend. Actually, is someone that we met in the gym just randomly of one of the last gyms I worked at. And now he's not been able to get rid of me. So I'm just that PT friend that is always tagging along. How are we doing, James?
Yeah, man, good. How are you?
All good. Yeah, all good, man. It's always going to be awkward
good.
to begin a bit.
Yeah,
Cool. So first bit, it's up to you, mate. So who you are, what you do, and what the audience need to know about you.
Yes, I'm James. Like at the moment, I'm a private chef. So I've been working in the catering industry since I was about 14. So I'm now 27, which is a scary number. But yeah, man, I've been working in restaurants and kitchens, and now the private side of things, which I really enjoy. Obviously, fitness is a big part of my life. So a lot of my days are balancing work with fitness and life, and I got a brilliant fiance, and like just trying to measure life and find time for everything. I guess it's kind of what I'm trying to do at the moment.
That's what the podcast's going to be about. Got the title already, finding balance in a life of no balance, which you're going to find out. Just a quick tangent, he's a mean chef. Mean chef.
I
Try. Makes a simple dish look and taste so nice. But we're going to run it back to the beginning part of your journey, I suppose. So I didn't know James at this part of his life, but he was a bit bigger than what you were now.
I was 21 years old, and I was pushing 21 stone. I'm not sure what is in kilos, like 130-ish.
Really bad with stones.
Yeah, man. I was a big boy. I kind of struggled with it all my life. I played rugby at like a semi-decent level, nothing crazy. But when I finished college, you're deciding what you want to do for the rest of your life. I was like, hey, I want to work in sports or physio or PT or whatever those things were. Because that's what I was doing. I was playing rugby 5-6 times a week during my school years, and then I used to cook a lot with my grandma, and unfortunately she's not with us anymore. And my other grandma who is with us, she's been a big influence as well. Like she cooked with me a lot when I was a kid, and I remember walking through a college open day, and there was a guy doing crepe Suzette, which you probably don't know what it is. It's like a pancake. Yeah, and you put like brandy on it and you flame it, and everyone goes, "Wow, that's incredible!" And that's exactly what happened to me. I walked past them and I was like, "Holy shit! Like I want to do that. Like, I want to set things on fire." So yeah, I just made this split decision like there and then. I was like, I'm going to be a chef, and didn't really think about the implications of that for the rest of my life. So first day of college, they were like, you need to go find a job. So I was working all these hours, and stopped playing rugby, and I was eating like I was still playing rugby.
Well, I was going to say, were you a big guy before you became a chef, or did it come as a result of being a chef?
I've always been a big kid, from young, like even on the rugby pitch, like I'm the slowest one, the biggest guy.
I'm going to put a picture up just so you can see where he was and where he's at.
Yeah, and so I just stopped playing, and then kept eating, and just piled on more weight and weight and weight until I got to the point where it was like unhealthy, bad, and like my joints and stuff, my ankles were so bad. Like I'd finish work and crawl up the stairs, like after like a 13-14 hour day on your feet running around. And then there was a big momentum shift in my life. My grandmother got sick, and before she passed away, she kind of said to me like, "Hey, you need to, you don't need to. I'm not telling you need to lose weight, but I'm telling you that you need to be healthy. Like you can't carry on like this forever. You're not going to make old bones if you don't stop or change at least. I say stop like I was doing something terrible.
Yeah.
I wasn't like addicted to any kind of like substances or anything. I was just addicted to cheeseburgers and fries. You know what I mean? And then she passed, and it was kind of like oh shit, I kind of have to do this now because I said I was going to. And yeah, man, the rest is kind of history. Like, just started slow. As you probably hear a lot from clients and people listen to this, if they're PTs, clients like scared of the weight section, like didn't touch it, didn't look at it, didn't know anything about it. And then just started like, walking, running, bike, whatever in the gym. And then slowly like transitioned into, a bit of lifting at the local gym. And then I was fortunate enough to meet you and some others.
Unfortunate now. Wishes he never did.
Yeah, at a great gym. And, the relationship's kind of like blossomed into like, you know, one of my best pals, and you know, it's been good. Just good, you know, support system and accountability, and you know, relationships kind of come out of it. I know I've kind of just like rambled through the whole thing really
No, it's all
quick
good,
there.
man. It's good. Now
Really
you're on the
quick.
best podcast in the world. So you know, it's all come
Something
good
like that,
things.
something like that.
Yeah. So in terms of like, I don't think I was a big kid. Like I was, what I call skinny fat. Like, but then I suppose it's just
Yeah.
like being young and just like not really caring about what you're eating. But what would you say was like, because there was a substantial difference, what would you say was like the biggest mindset shift from, say, your biggest to then losing all that weight? Or what were the things in between?
I think like, obviously, you know, the promise I made to my grandmother, and you know, and I remember having an appointment about like this foot problem I had, and this doctor just kind of said to me, he was like, if you want to carry on doing what you're doing, you got to lose weight. Like you're not going to be able to do 15-hour days on your feet with the weight that you're carrying forever. Like there'll be a certain point where you will not be able to do this anymore physically. And I think when anyone says that to you, you think, I don't want to stop doing anything because I physically can't. I want to stop because I mentally have had enough of it. You know, I'm not saying that I have had enough of cooking at all, but when that point comes for me, you know, whether it's now or 20, 30 years down the line, I want to be able to make that choice for me and maybe my family then, because I can't physically do it. And I think when you hear that at the age of, you know, 20, 21, you think, fuck, okay. You know, those decisions that you think you're going to make when you're 50 or 60, you're making when you're 20 or 21, 22, you think, okay, like there needs to be a shift here. And I was lucky enough at the time, like, I'm in a group, like my school friends, there's 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8 of us. And like 3 or 4 of them were, you know, training to be the PTs. They were, you know, their university courses were in sports science or sports nutrition. One of my best mates, Dylan, like I just, you know, I did what I was scared to do at the time. And I just went to him and I just said, look, I need your help. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. You know, and he kind of shrugged it off like, hey, you just, you know, eat less, move more, you know, like, like James Smith has been ramming down everyone's throats for the last like 10 years. And like to him, it was something simple, but to me, I just needed guidance, you know, like I knew I needed to do my cardio. I knew I needed to, you know, eat less, or, you know, and then, yeah, it just slowly started to shift, you know, and I think, you know, when you start to see results, you go, I'm going to keep going. And then, you know, before you know it, you've done it for 8 months, 9 months, a year, and you're like a completely different person, you know. And then I think it changes your whole lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, oh, I go to the gym now. It's like you make that a priority in your life, you know, and it's probably become like it's become more of a mental thing for me now. Like I have to be able to work out a certain amount of times a week. Otherwise I just find myself, you know, getting in my head, or, you know, whatever those things may be.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have the same kind of issues, you know?
Yeah. I think as well, like, what you were saying there, it's kind of like a backs against the wall situation. A lot of people do think, well, a lot of people know what they want to do, and a lot of people will eventually do it. They're like, yeah, okay, maybe I need to lose some weight, but it's not like a must. There's nothing that kind of happens. But obviously, like we said there, it's the extreme idea that came into my head is like when someone says they're going to die within a certain week, then they suddenly start doing all the things that they want to do. In a roundabout way, it's kind of that, like, you physically not be able to do stuff. So that is like the ignition to go and do something else.
Of course. Yeah, and I think that whole thing of like being forced to make a decision is great, but then like I think once you've done it once or twice, you realize a pattern and you think you can address things quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I hope that I have a different way of viewing things now, where I can see an issue before it becomes like something bad, you know, whether that's, you know, in my personal life or within fitness or within my career path. Like I'm able to assess things a little bit better, I guess, from those situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, and I think the way I did it, like the diet and stuff, I didn't really get much guidance on it. It was more the exercise and stuff. And I probably did it the wrong way. You know, I did like no carbs for, you know, nearly 12 months, lost a hell of a lot of weight. I think it was like, you know, 30 something kilos in the end. But then, you know, that had its own unhealthy kind of twist where I was scared to eat. I was scared to go out with friends. I was scared to have a beer. Like I didn't want to, because in my head I was like, as soon as I eat that, you know, thing, you know, a loaf of bread or, you know, whatever those things are, I'm going to be fat straight away. Like it's going to be that switch. And yeah, I think it's taken me longer than I would have hoped for me to have a good relationship with food again. because for a while I was really, it was really, I was struggling with it because I just thought as soon as I put it in my mouth, that's it. Like, that saying, like, it's like a moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips kind of thing. It was like that was applicable to every single thing I ever ate. And I was like, oh, there's those party rings. There's those, and that's not how it works. But with time and with with experience, you go, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I think like it's more of an identity shift, like what you were saying there. Like over time, now you do certain things that maybe, I'm going to say Fat James wouldn't have done, because you don't think that way. I think that's where people trip themselves up, is because their identity hasn't changed. So you're trying to get the result nice and quick, but you're not actually changing the identity. Obviously, if it comes really quickly, you cut out the carbs, like cool. But if that's not you, if you're not going to be able to cut off carbs for the rest of your life, eventually, like you just said there, you're going to circle back and come to these things.
I suppose the lucky thing is it happened when I was like, going from that like college, casual job, working life to a full-time job to that. So I had the luxury of making it part of my life. Like I understand people who, do it when they're, 30, 40, 50, when you've got, a mortgage, kids, a career that you have to like keep on top of. It's a lot harder. And like, I think everyone battles their own things in their own ways, don't they? I was just fortunate in a way where I was able to, build that into my daily life, I guess, as an adult, because before that, I think anything before you're sort of 18, 20, you're probably, a bit of a kid, or, you're able to get away with things that you're not able to get away with when you're older, and prioritize things a little bit differently. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. People underestimate how long this actually takes. Like you said, they lost what, 30 kilos?
Yeah, 30. I think it's like 35 kilos in the end.
Over the space of?
About 8. As 8 months was like the hard dieting, and then like it trickled over to 12 months. But 8 months is like the.
So 30 kilos in 8 months then, and then you sustained it from then, or?
Yeah, I sustained it from then. Like I did go down. Like then it was kind of like when you start lifting things, you go from stones and pounds to kilos. So like there is a bit of a flick over where like I started weighing myself in kilos, and I don't really remember what they were in stones, but I went down to like 79 kilos, which is the lowest I've ever been. And like, my family were like, you look ill. Like I did look, and there's a picture of me at a family gathering, and I look like a ghost. Like my face is all gaunt. Like I'm like pale, because I just wasn't eating enough really. Like, and I was scared of everything. And I remember looking at that photo, like, I think they had a photographer for the thing, and like it came out like a month later or whatever. We got given it by my grandma, and I remember looking at it thinking, shit, like that's not good. And then you kind of find your sweet spot, don't you? Like I think I'm probably a little bit heavier now than I'd like to be, but I think everybody, kind of has that thing. But I found that kind of like sweet spot, the two weights where I want to be in between. And I try and maintain that, sometimes I go over, sometimes I go under. I say under, I never really do. You know what I mean? We all like fluctuate over, and you just try and rein it in for a while and, get things back on track. But I don't stress it as much as I used to. Like, fitness and that kind of thing is going to be there for your whole life. So if it doesn't work out for a week, as long as that week doesn't become a month, like it's cool. Like as soon as you understand that you got to, you're off the train track, you got to get back on. As long as you know that you've got to do that and you do it, I think you'll be fine. And
that's the ultimate goal, and that's the mindset that I try and instill in people. And I don't even know when it sort of came about with me, because I definitely fell into the trap of like, I remember writing in my book, I don't know where I saw it the other day, of like that I was going to compete on stage. I think this is 2021, literally not that long ago. I don't give a fuck about competing. No. But it's like having those extremes. It's like going from one end of the spectrum. Like you either have to be not caring about your fitness at all, or have to be doing absolutely everything. And it's really just about finding that balance of, sometimes you might be a little bit heavier. Summer, you might want to cut down a little bit.
But I think you could transfer that into anything in life. Like you look at someone like Seabum or Guzman, and you go, wow, like you want to look like that. But then you're like, you don't. Like I look at Gordon Ramsay, and I'm like, that's amazing. Or like, I look at these top Michelin star chefs, and you go, wow, I appreciate that so much. But it's not for me. Like I'm happy, and I'm successful in my own lane. I don't need to be the best of the best. And what is the best of the best? Like, okay, Seabum's got the best physique in this, and Gordon Ramsay's got the most Michelin stars here. And whoever those people are in, your life or what you follow or your hobbies or whatever, you can appreciate it and go, that's incredible. But I don't need to do that. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's like ideals, and that goes between everything, like physical, professional. Me and Jack spoke about it in the last episode. of like everyone's like, oh, I'd love to look like that, or I'd love to have that physique, like you said, like C-bum, whatever, or I'd love to have that sort of business. But they never want everything that comes with it as well, like all the ugly side of it, their shit relationship with food, their shit relationship with time and their family, not being able to do this. Like, yeah, you see the good part of it, but would you take everything else? And most of the time,
it's like everyone wants to, everyone wants to be a footballer and they get paid loads of money, and it's like, yeah, but they don't see their family on Christmas Day. It's like, okay, they get paid an exponential amount of money for the things they sacrifice, but they still sacrifice to get there. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think, like we've said before so many times, that you have the highlight reel of Instagram or Twitter or whatever those things are that you use, or TikTok now, and you think, oh wow, I want to be like those people, and then you're like, yeah, but they, you only see the 1 minute of their life per day, and the rest of it is shit. Like when you see those pictures of like the pyramids, and then like there's like the bloke behind it, and there's like loads of crap, or like there's a KFC over the road, and you're just like, yeah, okay, from that angle it looks fantastic, but you don't see the wider picture.
Yeah.
And everyone's got those things. You know what I mean? I think you look at these people and you go, oh, they must be like, they must be like this, they must be like that. And it's like they've got their own demons, they've got their own things. Like, they're fucked up in their own way. We're all kind of messed up slightly in our own way.
Yeah.
And you find your thing.
You find balance. Everyone's just winging it along the way, aren't they?
Yeah, man. Like you just work it out, don't you? And like I'm no way near perfect in any way. Like I'm sure lots of people in my life will tell you that, but you do your best. And
I can't relate. I'm definitely perfect. Just circling back to what you were saying.
yeah.
Circling back to what you were saying, and obviously with your job and how this has affected your journey. So tell us a little bit about that, what you did, and then what you do now, and how it's transitioned.
Yeah, so when I started losing weight, I actually took a little break from cooking, and I worked at Penny Hill Park, which is like a 5-star hotel. I was working front house concierge. It's where the England rugby team stay. So it was good fun. Like, as a rugby fan, I thought it was fantastic. And it's kind of weird, but like it was the easiest place for me to start because I had free time. I was working a normal 8-hour, 9-hour shift, whether that was morning or evening. Like I had time to fit those things into my life. And then when I went back cooking, I took a private gig, which was like my first step into private cookery. And I was lucky enough, I did split shift, so it was fine. So I do start at 8 o'clock in the morning, work until 2, have 2 till 5 off, go back at 5, finish at 9, 10, whatever it would be. So that those few hours in the middle of the day, go gym, see my mum, see my grandparents, whatever, see my friends, whatever, and then go back to work, finish the day. Whereas this job is a little bit harder. I work a 7 on 7 off rota, which is great. I get a lot of free time, but when I am at work, I'm at work. It's like, 12 hours, 13, 14, depending on the day. I love it. I love everything about it and what I do and who I work with and for and things like that. But, it's demanding and it's hard fitting it in when you can't be asked and, it's 30 degrees outside and you've been sweating all day and you just can't be bothered. Like, I'm fortunate enough to have a little setup in my garage now, just, barbell, squat rack, like a basic one. So I'm able to get that in. Like, I try and do like 3, 4 workouts when I'm working, and then trying to do like 5 or 6 when I'm not working. But I used to beat myself up and be like, I need to train 5 days a week. I need to do this. And then that balancing the unbalance that we said, that kind of comes in and you go, I can't make it perfect all the time. Like, I'm going to have to find a rhythm and a balance that works for me. And some weeks I get to the end of it and be like, shit, I didn't do what I said I was going to do, which frustrates me, but I have to pick it up next week, and I do, you know what I mean, or I don't. But you just don't beat yourself up about it. That's my biggest thing of that kind of world of it will be what it will be. Like, as long as you understand that you have to do it eventually. You know what I mean? You'll do it.
And did that transition happen quite quickly? Obviously, when you started the job, you've gone from Penny Hill Park, which is probably just a normal 9 to 5 or whatever hours, Monday to Friday, and then now changing to 1 week on, 1 week off, really high demand of hours. Did you have a little bit of pushback personally, trying to fit everything in and trying to like be okay with? Because I know a lot of people freak out when it can't be in a set routine, especially if you're doing one routine 1 week and one routine the next week. It can be hard to get that almost stability and comfort. Did you have anything?
Yeah, I did a lot, but like the only blessing was that I got this job at the very start of COVID, So obviously, like, there was nothing really open at the time. Like, we were fortunate to have somewhere to go and train, the two of us. But then I kind of had that mentality of like, if I can't do it properly, I'm not going to do it at all. So for those 7 days, I wouldn't do anything. Like, I just work, eat, sleep, shower, whatever, that kind of thing. And then absolutely cane it when I was off work, 7 workouts a week, maybe try and get 2 workouts in on a Monday, when I'm free. And then I just was like dying at the end of that week. And I was more tired going back into my shift than I was when I finished my shift. And I was like, this ain't working. So yeah, and like, I think like, all those like motivational quotes, and they're like, you tell yourself you're tired, and like, to an extent that is kind of true, like in certain things. And I think there's certain moments where I was like, am I telling myself I'm tired, or am I actually tired? And like, I can push through a half an hour, session. That's where like I've worked with you, and like we've come up with some workouts. I say you come up with some workouts for me to do that fit that schedule, that I know that mentally I can tick it off my list, and I'm not going to bed being like, shit, I didn't do that. Maybe I'm not doing as much as I would like to do, or you'd like me to do, or vice versa, but it's something. And I think in a lot of times people think like it has to be perfect to do it. And it's like, no, sometimes you just have to like get something done. Like, you have to get a tick in the box. I think that's like, that's 90% of life, is just ticking boxes. And yeah, when I'm at work, I tick the boxes the best I can, and then I make it up for it when I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's redefining success, because I feel like the ticking boxes thing is great. That's definitely a thing, but the boxes are different for each person. Like, the boxes I have to tick are different from what you have to tick, and that's where a lot of people will trip themselves up, because say if you do have a busy schedule and you have got things going on, if your definition of success is the same as someone, for instance me, that got all the free time in the world and I can train whenever, then you're always going to be lagging behind. Yeah. So it's being able to change that and adapt that of like, right, this week, because work is going to be demanding, because I've got meetings or whatnot, I'm not going to be able to do that, but maybe I can just do 20 minutes. Maybe I could just go for a walk. Yeah. And just changing that and going into that week of defining what those boxes are will make you feel so much better about the journey.
Yeah, just being okay with like it. Just being okay with it not being perfect. Because like, I think everyone thinks, I'm sure you did when you started this podcast back up, and you're like, it's got to be perfect. And it's like, it doesn't have to be amazing. Like, we just, and you build with these things, and you work out a rhythm and a pattern, and, and then life happens and you go, oh, okay, like I did well there, or I didn't, or, and you review it and you go, okay, well, next time I need to do this or this, or, whatever those things are. But yeah, man, just be okay with it not being the best all the time. That's probably not like what most people.
It's not
say.
even being the best all the time. I suppose at some point you are going to want to strive for it being. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but to some degree of good. But in the beginning, there's always going to be shit, like you said there with the podcast, and like we said in the last episode, it's being okay with, okay, this might be wrong, but you'll look back at episode 100, watch the first one, and think, fucking hell, hated the way I spoke, hated the questions I asked, I could have done this, I could have done that. But you're only going to get to that stage once you've just practiced and tried. And
also like finding your own routine. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at some of these big podcasts, especially we're talking about the podcast thing, but like some of them, you look at some of the stuff Rogan does, and you're just like, some of it's just mental. Like, he's just in a room stoned with one of his comedian friends, but they make a podcast and everyone loves it. And like, he's found his own, his own pattern in that, and he's now got the best podcast on the planet. So just because it doesn't follow a traditional format, whatever that thing is in your life, a podcast, a gym session, what you're making for dinner, you eating flipping jam and cheese crumpets.
Absolutely elite combo, by the way.
Yeah, whatever
Link
the
in
hell
bio.
you're doing over there. These canaries are weird. That was no offense.
We're actually Canarians, not canaries. We're not birds.
Jose's going to come for me.
The mafia's coming.
Yeah, man, like whatever those things are, like just, work it out in your own way, find your own pattern, find your own thing. Like, there's so many things, you do and I've done, and I'm sure many people have, that you go, I don't think this is right, but I'm kind of enjoying it and I'll work it out, So, I don't know. Like I said, just stress-free, I guess, is kind of my thing.
Everything is putting the reps in. If we're going to use gym terminology, anything that you do is just putting the reps in and you get better. If you don't know how to do an exercise, keep putting the reps in, you'll be fine. Don't know how to have sex, keep putting the reps in, you'll get better. Whatever it is, but I suppose like the podcast, keep putting the reps in, you'll get better.
Yeah, man. Like, going back to catering for me, like the amount of times I've cut my hands, or I've, burnt something, or I've, you know, planned something out in my head meticulously to put on a plate, put it in my mouth and gone, nah, that ain't it. But then you go, oh, well, I can't put, you know, broccoli with this, or, you know, whatever those things are for me personally. And I go, okay. Like, I'm not beating myself about it. Just, you know, make a mental note, write it down, whatever I've got, you know, in my little black book, and just go, no, doesn't work. Next. and that's 90% of life, and don't beat yourself about it, you know. I think we've all tried things, or like thought about career paths, or, you know, people or relationships, and you go, oh, it's gonna be this amazing thing, and then it doesn't turn out that way, and you beat yourself about it for weeks and months and stuff, and then you just have this click moment where you go, actually, take the good from it, realize the bad, move on.
100%. It's just practice. Otherwise, you're never going to get the lessons, and you never realize. I think most of the time, again, I probably said in the last episode, of just realizing most of the good that's going to come in your life is going to be as a result of the bad. So then you sit, but you do something wrong, it doesn't go the way you want it to, and you're like, right, okay, where did I fuck up here? Where could I do it different? But you never look at that when it's gone right. When things go right, I'm like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'm the man. I don't know what I'm doing now. But when it goes wrong, it's like, right, okay, what did I do wrong?
But no,
How can I change that?
You know, every hour is a lesson. I do generally agree in that. Like, we were talking on the way here on our, you know, our tour of Barnes. We're trying to find a parking space. It's I don't know. I've gone with this. Yeah, man. Like, we're talking about like bad things that have happened to, you know, either us or, you know, bad situations. It's like there's so many of those that I think you're thankful for in the end. Like you were saying to me that like everything eventually that's bad will become good within a remit. Obviously, you know, like we lose people, you know, which is sad, but also the lessons you take from losing that person, sometimes you can take it forward, and, you know, something beautiful can come of it in their memory, or, you know, with their work ethic, you've been able to, you know, make this happen or make that happen. Or, you know, you've like, you know, I've had situations where I had a bit of a career blip, you know, relationships or whatever, those things, you go, like, but eventually they've come good. You find a lesson in that loss, you know.
Yeah. So before James tries to steal my philosophy there,
yeah, so
I had an epiphany when I was on holiday.
He basically saw a quote by someone else,
reworded it, and now I'm telling the audience. But no, everything that is bad will that is bad at the moment will eventually be good, and it may take some things. Sometimes that may take a month to realize. Sometimes that make months or years to realize. But eventually, you will look back and think, right, I'm glad that thing happened, so that this and this could happen. So I guess the whole point of that thought was basically like, whatever you're experiencing in the moment, just know that eventually it will be okay, and it will actually be a good thing, which may help, but it might just be a little bit like comforting, I suppose.
Yeah, but I think it's like, you know, like that light at the end of the tunnel. Like, if you're in darkness for long enough, you kind of, you know, like if you sat in darkness for long enough, you can see. You know, like if you sit in your room at night and open your eyes for the first 3 minutes, you can't see nothing. After that, you know, you can kind of see some stuff. And it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Like, in those darkest moments, like, you get comfortable in them. And I think if you're able to get comfortable in dark and hard times, then you're able to push through into something else, you know, into those light moments, or, you know, transfer those things, which I think is like, you know, it's a hard skill to have, but if you're able to have them, then, you know, I think you're, you know, exponentially better.
100%. I have got a quote somewhere. I need to find it, of what you're just saying. Big up Inky Johnson.
You should get like a little like motivational quote corner or something.
I've actually got a notes full of quotes, actually.
Wear some shades or something.
True courage is the ability to embrace what we don't understand. There you go.
Yeah, man.
Ponder on that one in the mornings with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of moments, things happen in your life, and you go, "Why is this? Why?" I think that favorite sentence is, "Why me?" You know, "Why me? Why me? Why me?" And I've definitely said that many and many a time, and especially recently, like with a few little like things, you know. But you realise that sometimes it's good for it to be you. Like, I know it sounds a bit mad, but I think I always say, like, we've always said it to each other. It's like, sometimes you need life to punch you in the face, and sometimes you really do need it. Like, there's times in my life where I've either got a bit big for my boots, or, you know, I think we all do, from that, like, you know, 18 to 21. You go, fuck, I'm the man. Like, I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. Like, all these kind of things, and then whether, you know, something happens in your life and you just take this like haymaker to the jaw, and you go, shit, okay, sometimes it's nice to know that you're an ant on a massive planet. You know, that sounds really bizarre. And everyone, you know, I think everyone sends this other message of like, you're important, and you are, like, you know, you are, everyone is so important, and everyone deserves to be as happy as they possibly can. But there's that odd time where you have to realign with the rest of the world and go, actually, I overstepped here, or I didn't do the right thing there. And you go into a review mode and you go, what can I change about what I did to get better?
Yeah. And you need to get punched in the face, as I've learned all too
Yeah.
well. I think the one story that comes with that, I don't think I've said it on this podcast, is obviously the flat thing in that sort of time. I was the man. I was the fucking man back then. And I was just like, yeah, 2 months, doing well. Let's go get a flat. And then obviously the way that things
like,
transpired.
we'd only just become friends at that point. And
Literally.
Like, I suppose my only blessing is that I'm, you know, 3 or 4 years older than you. I remember at the time.
You can tell as well. Look at him.
I remember saying to you at the time, like, are you sure about this? And you're like, no, it's cool. And I was like, okay. I'm not saying that I knew what was going to happen, because I never wanted it to. But I think
everyone knew it was going to happen at some point. You have to make that mistake. That's the thing.
Yeah, you have to.
A lot of the times I think everyone's just like, I suppose you can't. There's an element of being warned about mistakes that could be coming. But I do feel like most of the time people need to experience it to actually understand. Because everyone told me I was an idiot. Everyone, like, even if you said the thing that was right, not in a negative way, but unless you do it, I don't think you can actually appreciate the experience. It's all well and good someone being like, oh yeah, you can read about it and be like, oh yeah, that's cool, but you don't understand everything that comes with it afterwards. So sometimes, yeah, being punched in the face is actually a good thing.
Yeah, you know, you came out of that, and you know, you went to Tenerife and whatever, and I think you had those few months of reviewing your life and realised that, you know, there's certain things you did well, there's certain things you didn't do well, and I think everybody should have those. You know, I think like everyone does that, like, you know, annual tax assessment or whatever. I think sometimes you should look back at your life once a year and go, what did I do well this year? What did I do bad this year? And like, you don't have to get a journal out, or, you know, whatever those things are.
Whoa, don't knock the journals.
But you know what I mean? I think sometimes like people think they have to like sit at a table and write it out, and it's like, no, sometimes you just have to like sit with a cup of coffee or a beer or something, could just go, okay, like that was really great, but that was really bad. So how do I kind of find the middle ground in that? I think I as you get older, you do it more. That sounds like my dad, but you do. Like, the older you get, the
Should have got you a, was it veranda, one of those rocking chairs?
yeah, with a bifocal.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, I think the older you get, the more you look back and you go, yeah, like, I got to change that, and that's really good, and I keep going with that, and you know, that relationship's not good for me, and that friend's not, you know, good for this, and that friend's good for that, and you know, you kind of find the way of like maneuvering through life. Yeah.
And the lesson will keep repeating itself until you finally understand.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I think you have, like I was saying to you, we were joking this morning about, I don't know, some rubbish, but like that whole thing of like, if you make a mistake like once, it's cool, but if you keep making it and you have this, you know, like, I think I saw, it's like a thing, another quote, I'm not gonna get my laptop out like you, but like, if you like, the definition of stupid is making the same mistake or doing the same actions and getting the same results. So like, if you're going to keep doing the same thing and keep getting the same results and then complain about it, it's like, you're just an idiot. Like, you know, 1 + 1 is 2. If you want 3, you have to do 1 + 2. Do you know what I mean? It's like that thing of like, something has to change at the start point, or, you know, through the process for you to get a different end result. So, you know, if you want to lose weight, you know, eat less, move more. If you want to, you know, start your own podcast, go and do it. If you want to start a business, you know, go onto the government website and register yourself and get a business, and, you know, then start putting things in place to, you know, make money, or, you know, whatever the goal of the business is. I've no authority in that world, but yeah, I just think, you know, you have to change things to get a different outcome.
100%. So moving swiftly on, where did this work ethic come from? Obviously, you're doing 12, 13-hour days, 7 days on the trot, sometimes even longer, and doing things that most people would be like, fuck that. Where has all that come from, or have you created it yourself?
No, my parents, like, you know, they're hardworking people. My dad's worked at the airport his whole life, and like, he's a massive inspiration to me. And my mum, the same. Like, she's a hair and beauty. She's been hair and beauty. She taught a sixth form for a long time, and now she works for social services, you know, helping people and helping kids in tough situations, which, you know, like, I think is amazing. But yeah, I guess just them, like, you know, they've done everything themselves, you know, years without going on holiday because they couldn't afford it, you know. Mum telling me stories about, like, you know, her walking me in a pram and like her bra breaking and it being the only one she had left, and like crying, and like, you know, and now they have a lovely house and they've worked really hard for it, and they drive nice cars, and you know, they have, you know, nice holidays, and they've given me and my brother, they gave up so much for me and my brother at the start that we were able to do what we wanted to do and push ourselves forward. And my mum and dad taking me to, you know, rugby games here, there, you know, up north, Isle of Wight, you know, all these places, giving up weekends, giving up time, and pushing me to be better. Like, they're the foundation, you know what I mean? Like, my grandparents, and you know, they've always been there and always pushed me along, and you know, I'm lucky to have a big family. And then, like, I was very lucky. Like, I went to college and I met my other half, and we've been together since we were 16. And she is just, she's like, I think she's incredible. Like, she pushes me in ways, and she makes me stand up and push myself forward. Like, I don't know how much, we won't go into it too deep, but there was a period, like, just before lockdown, and there was a situation with, like, I had a career change, and I didn't quite work out for a period of time, and I had a really dark place for a long time, like probably like 2 months. You know, like, didn't really get out of the house, like lots of, like, you know, anger and frustration and tears, and, like, you know, not going to bed until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you know, almost doing something silly, and you know, something that you can't undo, and like those dark times, which I think everyone's had. Like, I'm not going to try and make it about me, but she had this way of, like, being loving and caring, and then it hit a certain point, and she was like, shut the fuck up, go and do something about it, because if I hear you complain one more time and you haven't done anything, like, you're done. Like, I'm done with you. And she hit the point at the right time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you'd be some people are so scared to do that, because if you say it too early, is it going to have a bad effect? If you say it too late, is it going to have a bad effect? But she just hit it right at the right time, like, you know, that hammer on a nail, and I was just like, bang, that's it, I'm done. And I just then, you know, changed my mentality, stuck in, you know, like, I suppose, like, luckily it was COVID, because, you know, everyone was kind of in a, you know, I suppose, like, me in the catering world, like, they still kind of moved. And I took some temporary things and, you know, did some odd jobs here and there for, you know, clients, and then I got the job of my dreams, you know. So it all kind of, and it happened really quick, which I guess is, like, also, like, fortunate, because if it had taken another 6 months, then maybe it'd be a different story right now, but it didn't. And I think that's also a testament to realizing, like, when you do put your full force and full heart into something, it comes off, you know what I mean? Yeah, and she pushing me forward, and then, you know, she's a beast at what she does in her career as well. So, you know, being able to bounce ideas off each other and be there, and I've got a great support system in friends and family, and I don't know, I've just always been a grafter. Like, I know people say that, but, like, I just have, like, I'm not super clever, I'm not super talented. Like, I think I look at my class at college, and I look at some other chefs, and one of my best friends, Liam, like, you know, senior sous chef at a newly crowned 1-star restaurant, which in the catering world is a big deal. He's way more talented than I am, but I'm just a worker. And I'm a people person as well. Like, I can talk to people, and that's where the whole private chefing for me has come in, because I couldn't be trapped in a kitchen for, you know, 15 hours a day with the same blokes talking about the same shit. I like being out the front. I like talking to people. I like creating. I like creating something and then seeing a smile on someone's face. So yeah, I kind of found my lane, I guess. And, like, I think once you find your lane, you're really good at, you know, pushing yourself forward, finding your own dynamite, I guess, to get you going, or fuel, or whatever.
So once, obviously, soon to be Mrs. Spray, said to you, like, right, sort your shit out, and you started working, did you then get the job in the private sector?
Yeah. So, like, I was lucky enough. Like, I have a great mentor in, like, the private household world. You know, because you know, there's lots of facets to working in a private environment. So, I had a great mentor, and he gave me some great advice. And he, you know, I think from the hard work I'd given him, I worked for him for 5 years, and I I had one day off sick the whole time I was there. I was, I turned up early every day, left late every day, like, grafted for him, and he put his word out for me and got me a few little bits and bobs. Like the job that came in the end was actually all, was off my back, which is the job I still have today and I love. So yeah, like it, I think you show up for these people and you work hard, and then I think it, comes back to you tenfold. I think people think like a week is enough, like 5 years, 5 years of hard graft. I've been in the kitchen since I was 14 years old. I'm now 27, that's what, 14 years, 15 years, that's a long time. And I'm not saying that like I deserve anything more than anyone else, but I just think like it compounds, like compound interest in the bank. Going to the gym is, you compound years and years of lifting to get to these weights or physiques, or, and I think it's the same in careers. You put in graft, and, you have mistakes, you learn, you rectify, you move on, you align, you analyze, and like, I think eventually you get your break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone gets opportunities.
There's not anyone that's like kept working at something and not being successful, and it is the time frame in which you set that in. I think a lot of people, it is the instant gratification I spoke about in the last episode of, right, I'm going to do this and then I want this to happen in a week. I'm going to do this podcast and I want to have 10,000 subscribers next week. Sometimes you have to just keep on doing it, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3, fucking 10 years. Like you said, if you keep on going, at some point something is going to happen, and it's keep on putting yourself in, like, there's something I read in a book called Miracle Territory, where you're just showing up with no expectation of something happening to then cross paths with someone that could it just align. It's like that picture, I don't know if you've ever seen, with the two, it's like it's a person above and below, and they're like digging for a mine. Diamond. One finds one diamond, and then one gives up, but then he's actually got more than the other one. It's kind of the same thing, and that's where people give up, and it's so hard to just have faith in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, like I was listening to a podcast earlier with Matt Rife. He's like a American comedian, and he's like, the saying is he's like blown up, and he's like, the hottest thing in American comedy right now. And he was chatting about, like, so you just like you burst on the scene. He's like, he kind of looks at them like, pardon? So, you burst on the scene. He was like, I've been doing this for 11 years. I was playing at like some strip club in Atlanta as a comedian for 30 minutes 11 years ago. And okay, now I'm selling out the biggest stadiums in America, but like, no, like, I didn't burst anywhere. Like, I've been chipping away at it for ages. Like, okay, probably in the last year it's gone from level 10 to level 50, but he was like, doesn't mean that the foundations aren't there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't see that as well. It's like people, like all these people that suddenly blow up. Most of the time, okay, there's a rare couple that do literally like burst on the scene, but most of the time they've been putting in work for ages, and they've had to put in the work. And like we said earlier on in the podcast, it's like they had to be shit. They had to do the shit gigs, or be the shit chef, or be the shit podcaster, the shit PT, to then get to this stage, so that when the miracle or the opportunity does arrive, they're in a much better position. But you have to do that beginning bit.
I remember putting out a dish one trip, and like my mentor still kind of jokes about it now, and like I put this dish out, and like I wouldn't do it now. Like, I think back and I cringe, and I'm like, oh my God, how did I serve that to the people that I served it to? Anyone, actually. But it still fuels me up. Do you know what I mean? When I think about it, I'm riled up. I'm like, right, get me back in there. Let me prove them wrong. You know what I mean? Like, that's my but yeah, I still think about it now. It happened 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn.
It's just one of those things, and I think the most annoying part of that whole process is when you do get to this certain stage, and people only see the success, the immediate success over the last few months. They're like, "Oh, must be nice," or "Oh, she's so lucky to have all these things." And like, no, I've been fucking doing this for a long time.
I was fortunate to be able to, me and my other half Jess, we bought her own house, and like, it's been amazing. But lots of hard work, lots of saving, lots of going without things. And a family friend, love her to pieces. She came over and she was looking around. She's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." She said, like, I think the first 3 times I let it go, and then the 4th time I was like, "No, I'm not. Like, I'm very, very fortunate, very fortunate, and I've had some great opportunities, but I've worked really hard to keep those opportunities and push myself all the time to get better, to keep hold of, to be able to get more opportunities." And I know that whole like, you're lucky. It's like, I don't know if I like it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm fortunate, like, but I've worked hard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I've worked harder than anybody. Like, I think there's people that work way harder than I do. You know, you look at nurses who work crazy hard and don't get paid for it. So like, then you compare that to a footballer, and it's like, I understand there's gaps, but I think if you work hard enough and long enough at something, it will come for fruition. Like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. You know, like I'm building, I'm learning every day. And I think you are as well. You know, what I mean, this isn't. You can't be at the end at 25 or 27. You know, it's like, you know, you've got to keep going and keep pushing, and you know.
It's a start. Yeah, and I think just tangenting off from what you said there, I forgot what I was going to fucking say. Along that process of obviously getting to that stage where you are lucky. Oh no, that was it. I was going to say the luck part. I think the only time that can really come in is if you win the lottery.
Yeah.
You win the lottery, okay, yeah, you might be fucking lucky.
Yeah.
But most of the time, even the footballer thing, like, yes, they get paid a lot of money, but it's not fucking easy to get to that certain stage, to get to that like level of like income and earnings. They've had to work ridiculously hard, and people massively disregard that. And I think the lucky thing is more a deflection on themselves. It's so easy for them to say, "Oh, you're lucky," because then that takes the ownership and the thing of, all right, I haven't done the work.
I always think like talent gets you in the door. Talent will get you a seat, you know, will get you an interview, it will get you a trial, it will get you a conversation. But talent without hard work is nothing. Like, it's nothing. And I think people forget that. Like, I think people think that when certain people get to this level, it's like, oh, they're just so talented. And it's like, yeah, they are. They're very talented. But without the hard work, they just, you know, how many people have come and gone, you know, in whatever, you know, in jobs that you've had or I've had, or career paths, or, you know, in the public eye, where they've come in and then they've just gone out again as quick as possible. You know, how many musicians have had one hit wonders and then gone again? And it's like they hit that chord at the right time, but they couldn't keep it up. So yeah, I think, you know, that's part of it as well.
Before we move on for that into the last bit of just along the way of obviously this journey, because it is like a forever thing a lot of the time, personal relationship, whatever it is, you need to be careful of who you're sharing your goals and dreams with, because other people's words or the outside noise can sometimes drag you down. So it might seem, for you, it might seem completely normal, but for someone else who doesn't believe that they can do it, they might be like, well, I don't know. And that could be quite a dangerous like area to be in, because then you start filling yourself with doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, like, I think the people you surround yourself with are so important. You know, it's like that J. Cole line of like, what's the point of having a first class ticket if you've got no one to sit with, kind of thing. He didn't say it like that. He said it way better.
Yeah. Much cooler.
But, you know, it's like, it really is. And it's like the people that you surround yourself with are so important. You know, I personally keep like quite I think people say like, oh, I keep a close circle, I keep a tight group of friends. And it's like, kind of, but like, I have certain people in my life that I share the, you know, the big news with, the big thoughts. I don't tell everyone about everything. I think everyone does that. Do you know what I mean? But I think people sometimes talk a lot before doing anything, or they, you know, they. I think sometimes we expect people to be as excited about things as we are, like, which is, you know, but you expect the people around you to have faith in you. You know, like, and I know that you've had something, you know, like with a close person saying to you like, "Oh, you can't do that."
Yeah.
Or, you know, that's not going to work.
It's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. That's not obtainable. And it's like, you know, and I know that you use that as fuel all the time to be like, no, fuck you, like, I'm gonna do it, and like, you will, you know what I mean?
100%.
And like, in a way, it's like, no, you didn't want the reaction of that person to be that at that time for you, but are you grateful that that's what happened? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I suppose it always happens. Like, and you see it. It's not just that. That's obviously like a personal one, but you hear it all the time. There was a guy in a podcast I heard who is like the must be nice thing. Like, they made all this stuff, and it's like, must be nice. It's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking work hard for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more so the overarching element of not letting that derail you, but actually using it as motivation.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like we're both, you know, as we've spoken before, like big Christian Guzman fans. It's like the whole athlete thing of like proud but never satisfied. So I'm proud of what I've done, and you know, but I want more. Like, and I'm not saying that's career wise or relationships or, you know, whatever. It's like, I want to be able to give the best version of me to my career. I want to be able to give the best version of me to my wife. I want to be able to give the best version of me to my friends. You know, I want you to be able to call me, and then you know that I'm listening to you. You know that the advice that I give, you don't have to take, but it's coming from a place of caring, and I am listening to you. I'm not just trying to fob you off, or you know, whether it's you or other friends or, you know, family. And I think for me, that's the overriding thing. I think, you know, you want people to look at you and be like, you know, you're a good guy, and you know, you've been caring and kind and that kind of thing. So I think, you know, that's the kind of what you want people to think of when they think of you, or at least I do. You know?
Yeah, that leads on nicely to our last little point that we're going to talk about. Obviously, you've mentioned the support from Jess. Big up yourself, Jess. And the accountability element over the last few years, whether it be fitness, losing the weight, getting the job. How has the accountability had the impact over you over the last few years?
I think it's amazing. Like I think accountability counts for so much. Like it really does. And I think there's so many times in your life where you say things, you say throwaway comments of things you want to achieve or things you want to do, and it's like, and I think that, you know, like when you're down the pub and your mates go, "Did you do that thing?" And you're like, "Oh, no, and you make up some bullshit excuse, and it's like, I've got to the point now where, like, I've said to you before, like, I want to do this, stay on me, please, because if you don't, Christ, I don't know, I'm gonna fob it off, or you know, something. And some of those things I have achieved, and some of those things I haven't. Mostly I have, but yeah, I think it's so important, and who you are as a person and who you share your life with, I think that's so important as well. I don't know what it's like for you, but
I think I think it's because the king of throwaway comments.
oh, mate, you said some corkers over the 3 or 4 years, haven't you?
Yeah, change my mind like the fucking wind. But it is having that person. It's mainly you that's just like, right, you said you're gonna do this, or you said you're gonna do that. You're not doing it. Sort your fucking shit out.
Yeah, and I think there's so many sentences where it's like, you don't have to do exactly what you said, but the sentiment needs to be the same. Like I think, you know, let's just talk about like what we've been through. Like you've said, "Oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to travel, or I'm going to go here," and it's like, okay, well, might not do it to that extreme, but Lou, you have to do that in some capacity. Otherwise, in 5 years, 10 years time, you're going to be upset with yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, certain things for me in my life, you know, like I probably dragged my heels on, you know, proposing to my other half, and it was like, at a certain point, I was like, I want to do this. I need to do this. I'm just scared that like I'm not going to get the thing right, or the ring right, or she might say no, or like, you know, those things. And it's like, but just do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you know, or like making a career jump, or, you know, I don't know, going to the gym, or changing a workout program, or, you know, starting BJJ like you've done, or, you know, just doing these things where it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, worst thing happen is you go, oh, it didn't work. Oops. Next. You know, so yeah, man, it's life, you know, you just roll with it.
Yeah. I think having the accountability acts as like a positive or negative feedback loop, because obviously we have so many thoughts. We're like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. And if you don't share that with anyone, if you don't have someone to hold you to it, you could sort of just go around life just saying shit, speaking hot air, and just not feeling good about yourself, but like feeling as almost like you're accomplished. Just like, yeah, I said that I was going to do that. And it kind of gives you that the same buzz. But then when you have someone that's like, right, we haven't done this, or you keep saying that you're going to do that, but you're acting this way, it gets you to think a bit more like introspectively. I don't know what the word is. Of like looking within and like, okay, yeah, shit, maybe I need to start actually taking action, and then seeing where your life is going to be.
Like, how often do you actually like, I think like how often you negative about yourself, but like I think a lot of people are, but it's normally like physical. I don't think you look at yourself sometimes and go, I should have done that, and there's no excuse for it. So next time that happens, it needs to happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think accountability is great, and I think the people that you let hold you accountable, or you get to hold you accountable, is important as well. Because I think I take criticism well from a certain group of people. Outside of that group of people, I don't really care, and that's probably not the best way of saying it, but it's like, I'm not really bothered about what Bob 4 doors down thinks of me. I care about what you and Jess and my parents and Dylan and Ben, the people in my life, where it's like, I care what they think about me,
Mm.
or the person I work for. I care about that. I don't care about the rest.
Yeah. It's holding yourself to higher standard, because we're chronically shit, and I say this in the coaching, of letting other people down.
Yeah.
And you don't want that thing of, you don't want to have that conversation of saying that you said you're going to do something and then didn't. So sharing your goals, again, like you said, to a certain group of people that have got all good intentions, will actually more likely than not allow you to achieve those goals, because you have to like, shit, okay. When you have that feeling of, oh, can't be asked today, or I'm not going to do that, and then you're like, well, I'm going to see James on Friday, and he's going to probably ask me how's this thing going. And if I turn around and be like, oh no, I haven't done it, then I'm actually, right, okay, let's go and do it now. Whereas if you're not sharing it with anyone, no one knows. No one knows what little like promises or ideas or goals you're having in your head, that like you could just make all this shit up and then be like, oh well, no one's going to know that I didn't do it.
Like, to bring it back to your man, Inky Johnson, it's like didn't he say like the measure of the man or the person is like doing the thing when the moment that you said you were going to do the thing in his past.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's all good me sitting here and being like, I'm going to do this, and then when it actually comes to it, I'm like, I can't really be bothered, or don't have time, or you can find an excuse for anything, can't you? Whether it's doing something physically, doing something mentally, doing that like tiny little, I don't know, doing the gutter in at home, or taking the bin out, or whatever those things are. It's like when the time comes, it's hard. It's easy to just be like, do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone pointing you, or like to measure yourself against, sometimes I guess it's probably the best thing.
100%. All right, the last question that I'm going to ask you, which is becoming a running theme, is what is your definition of success?
See, I'd love to say something profound, like the Jimmy Carr reference when he's talking to Stephen Bartlett, and he's like, to enjoy the passing of time. That's what he says, and I think that's the only one that I've listened to and gone, that's probably spot on. Like, it really is just, my idea of success is being happy, loving relationships with friends and family, like having my friends over, cooking a steak on the barbecue, opening a bottle of red wine, being able to take my kids on holiday once a year. Like, I don't need a Ferrari and a Lamborghini, because in my eyes that's not success. Just being happy and fulfilled, I guess, is the best thing I can say.
It's a great answer. Great answer. Anything else you want to leave with the viewers?
No, man.
No, all
Just
good.
listen to the podcast, guys. Hopefully lots more coming from Lou. So